know about the latest with the severe thunderstorm threat. You can see a couple of areas are highlighted under warnings, Burnett County as well as Williamson County. The reason? Potential of strong, damaging, gusty winds. So Burnett County, Williamson County, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. Anastasia says something about geese being troublesome. All right, so let me go ahead and get you kind of caught up on where things stand. There's also a new severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for all of the CBS Austin area, and a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Gillespie County in anticipation of some strong gusty winds as well. So as you can see right here, this blue corresponds to somewhere in between 60 and 70 mile per hour winds. So those are going to be approaching Gillespie County, and then we've already had a wind gust of 52 miles per hour reported in Vernon. So the biggest concern for the severe thunderstorms here is also for strong, damaging winds, 60, possibly as high as 70 miles per hour. Let me go ahead and show you where we stand as far as the severe thunderstorm watch. It had been in effect until 10 p.m. It has now been expanded for our area until 3 a.m. So new severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 3 a.m. for the CBS Austin area as storms continue to approach. Meantime, as you can see, we've got storms that are quickly racing eastward through areas of Burnett County. They've already pushed across Lake Buchanan and Llano County. They've moved through Mason County, although you have another batch moving in. I'll go ahead and make the lightning a little bit smaller so that you can kind of isolate that, and I'll also take the watch away. So severe thunderstorm watch just means conditions are favorable for possible severe thunderstorms to develop. Okay, so the current severe thunderstorm warning encompasses areas from Georgetown and Sun City up toward Florence, Andice, Liberty Hill, across to the Bertram area, Oatmeal, Burnett, as well as Briggs. So all of these areas, you are currently under a severe thunderstorm warning. These storms are racing to the east very quickly. They're moving about 40 miles per hour. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the leading edge of these storms, and I will track them to the east at 40 to give you some times and some towns. Oatmeal 920, Bertram 924, Ocala about 928, Joppa 930, Liberty Hill 937, Mahomet right around 940, and Andice right around 945. What to expect? Very heavy rain, but more importantly, the potential of damaging wind gusts on the leading edge of this system. Also, let's check in on the hail potential. Currently, it is looking like there could be some hail in northernmost Burnett County. Some of this might be as large as quarter sized. So let me go ahead and give you an indication here. Along Highway 281, north of Burnett, up near Lake Victor, up to walnut-sized hail possible, so that could be enough to cause some damage. So heads up, hail is going to be a concern for those of you in northern Burnett County. There's also some sub-severe hail that's being indicated farther to the south through portions of southern Burnett County near Marble Falls. Also just southwest of Llano, there's a little bit of hail showing up, a tiny little piece of hail or indication of hail into northwest Blanco County. And then as we look toward Gillespie County, currently no hail being indicated, but to the west there is, and that storm is moving its way toward you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show the radar image of this so that you can see the storms over Gillespie County as well. So we know that we've got nasty storms that are moving their way toward Williamson through Burnett counties. Also, as you can see, very good indication here of those gusty winds. Right here, anytime you see this little signature that looks like a backward C, that is indicative of damaging winds. It's called a bow echo. If you can imagine a bow and arrow, where the arrow bows out when you pull it back, that is where at the apex of the bow, right in here, is where the heaviest or strongest winds are. So be aware, not only dealing with potential hail, lots of lightning, but also strong winds, which could pack a pretty big punch, cause some power outages, some trees down. Just be aware for that. The storms that are over Gillespie County are pushing to the east at about 30 miles per hour, indication of 60 mile per hour wind gusts, as well as quarter-sized hail possible with that. Let me go ahead and put this into current mode, and I will do a storm track for this to give you some towns and some times as well. So we're talking the leading edge of the heaviest storms moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. So here are some towns: Harper 927, Ingram, about 937, 947 for the Mount Wesley area, and these storms are going to continue working their way off toward the east. So I fully expect if these storms all continue to hold together, we'll probably see warnings move into Blanco County and then eventually into Travis and possibly Hayes County. So in case you're wondering, yes, the storms are expected to increase, so there will be more action before things improve. I'm going to go ahead and add the wide radar just so you can get an idea of what's out west. And honestly, there's not a lot out west of our area because the cold front is already pressing in. I'm going to add that cold front here so you can see where it's located currently. So right now I'm plotting the cold front, and you can see it is stalled just to the northwest of the CBS Austin area. And as long as this front is stationary, it's basically going to be the focus for continued storms along and just ahead of it. So we're watching some of those storms right now out ahead of it, and then the additional storms will be pushing through as well. With all of this, do be prepared for potential of maybe some flooding. There is a flood advisory currently in place for areas of Mason County and points off toward the north towards San Saba, and that's where radar indications are of more than an inch of rain falling in some areas. But let's face it, we haven't seen a ton of rain lately, so chances are it will be minor flooding if at all. And just looking in at the LCRA gauges over the last 24 hours, this is not something that I'm terribly concerned about in terms of flooding. Only about a half of an inch reported in northwest Mason County, right north of Mason about 43/100ths of an inch. However, if you look at this little area in yellow, just on the northern edge of Mason County, that's where it's showing a small area that has picked up over 3 inches of rain. And if you look farther to the north into McCulloch County, much the same. So if there have been some pockets of much heavier rain, just keep that in mind, that although most areas probably are not seeing horribly large amounts of rain, let's face it, we need the rain. There may be some minor flooding in the spots that get the most. So once again, let's take a look at this area in northwest Vernon County. Near Colorado Bend State Park, it's showing 2.6 inches of rain. Northwest of Lake Buchanan in Llano County, 2.1 inches of rain. So many areas will not see all that much, but some areas are going to see enough to cause some minor flooding potential. Next question. I know many of you are probably thinking, where do we stand with the severe weather threat? Have things changed? And you know what? The change has been that the area of level 3 risk, which is the enhanced risk, has actually been extended farther to the south, as well as the level 2 risk, which has been expanded farther south. So earlier, about the southern half of the CBS Austin area was in the yellow, which is a lower risk, and now pretty much all of the CBS Austin area has been put into this enhanced risk, which is a level 3. In case you're wondering what that translates to, let me go ahead and show you the enhanced risk criteria. Enhanced means numerous severe thunderstorms possible, more persistent and or widespread, and a few even intense possible. So we have all now been added to that enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms. I guess with the exception of far southern sections of Fayette, far southern sections of Caldwell County near Luling, and portions of Mason County as well. But the overall threat has increased for us in terms of intensity of potential storms. And of course, we've already seen the definite increase in potential for damaging wind as well. So that's where we stand with that. Let's also go ahead and take a look at the hour-by-hour forecast. So right now the time is 9:26. As we advance through time, the storms are going to be over northwest Travis and Williamson County and pushing toward the I-35 corridor in about an hour. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're almost to the I-35 corridor in about an hour. So this is earlier than the original estimates were, to work closer to midnight for when the storms would reach into the I-35 corridor. So a little bit quicker on arrival. However, we could see additional storms. Again, this is a high-res computer model. It updates once an hour. It's not perfect, but this will give you kind of an idea of what to expect. Anytime you see these bright fuchsia colors, as you can see, spanning from Hayes County, points to the south and west, that can also be indicative of potential hail. The higher intensity returns. So there may be some embedded hail, and we will have to watch also for whether any of these storms start to spin. Sometimes you can have little areas of spin on the leading edge. Heading toward 1 a.m., leading edge of the heaviest rain from Rockdale to Bastrop to Lockhart, and it's going to continue pushing its way toward the south and east as we head through the overnight hours. As you get toward 2 a.m., you can see that the leading edge has made its way closer to the Giddings area into Fayette County near LaGrange, and it too will continue to push off toward the south and east. As we head toward around 2:30 in the morning, you'll notice there are fewer bright purples, which means the overall severe thunderstorm threat is starting to decrease. Still lots of strong storms, but not as strong. So we should start to see things decrease and improve as we head our way through the second half of the overnight. Here's a look at 3:30 in the morning. You're clearing out in Mason County by that point. By 4:30 in the morning, the last of the rain is clearing Highway 281 and making its way across I-35 in a lighter form. Heavier rain still possible by about 4:30 in the morning through Hayes County, Caldwell County, Bastrop County, as well as Fayette County. Then by about 5:30 in the morning, the last vestiges of this system will be pushing through Fayette County, including along I-10 toward Schulenburg and Flatonia, and then making their way toward the south and east. So, what does this mean in terms of renewed rainfall totals? So the areas that have already seen most of the storms pass, which include areas into Mason County, might not see a whole lot more. However, spots where the rain lingers longer and lasts a bit more could still see 1 to 2 inches of rain, and some of these reds correspond to where you could be looking at 3 inches plus. That might be enough to tip the scales over for a flood advisory, which just means minor flooding possible. I don't expect anything significant or widespread, but I do think that'll be something to keep in mind that could be a concern. So that's basically the lay of the land with that weather alert still in effect until 3 a.m. That's when the severe thunderstorm watch is currently scheduled to expire. The watch in pink basically means conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms. That includes the potential of damaging winds, which is first and foremost the biggest problem. Also large hail possible. As of yet, I haven't seen any reports. I should double check, see if there's any changes. I haven't seen any reports of large hail in our area just yet. But I do want to make sure that you realize that the winds could be up to 70 miles per hour in Vernon County, now moving toward Williamson County. So that's the kind of wind that you want to make sure you've got all that patio furniture, any loose objects secured. You want to make sure you stay indoors as well, because those winds are strong enough to cause some damage, and anything that's flying could hurt you. So you want to be inside in a safe spot. So where are we sitting right now? 9:30 is the time, and the worst of the storms are currently over Vernon County, moving toward Williamson County. Along the leading edge is where the strongest winds will be, and then the heavy rain will be after that. Also, you can see certainly an indication here in Gillespie County, approaching Harper and eventually heading toward Fredericksburg along Highway 290, another area of pronounced strong wind, lots of lightning as well. Let me go ahead and do aquarium, see how much lightning is coming out of this system that's moving through Vernon County right now. 149 lightning strikes. Now let's take a look at the amount of lightning coming out of areas near Gillespie County, 142 lightning strikes. So both of them are extremely active in terms of electricity. Obviously lightning's dangerous too, so when thunder roars, head indoors. All right, so we're watching basically the initial line of storms here, and then the second line right in here. So all of this has to pivot its way through our area before we are finally clear of the storm threat. At this point, in terms of severity, the best chance of seeing severe weather is probably going to be along this leading edge, where we're watching those strong gusty winds through Gillespie, through Vernon, and into Williamson County. Farther to the west with the secondary line, most of these storms are a little bit more tame, and that's probably because they're moving over somewhat rain-cooled air that has already seen some storms, so they're not as intense. They're just going to be bringing lightning and heavier downpours, but probably not as big of a risk of severe weather. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show let's see, is there a new warning extended? Yes, a new warning update for Williamson and Vernon County. Let me see what the latest is on that. So the possibility of seeing, let's see what the new hail is. Possibly up to about 3/4 of an inch, about nickel-sized hail possible, and wind gusts that could be close to 60 miles per hour. So just keep in mind these storms, they do actually appear to be weakening. One indication of some weakening is, I'll go ahead and remove the lightning so it'll make it a lot easier to see. If you take a look at the purples that were right in here, those purples have diminished. So that's an indication that the storm is not as intense as it had been. If you look at the chart here, these purples, that's like really, really heavy. The red is still heavy, but not as heavy. So at this point, it's looking a little bit less ominous, at least from that standpoint. But just keep in mind that we are dealing with, at the very least, probably 50 to 55 mile per hour wind gusts possible, even if it doesn't get all the way up to a higher extent. But portions of of northern Llano, northwest Vernon counties, hail up to nickel-sized, winds up to 55 miles per hour possible, and still have to watch for maybe some winds gusting over 50 to 60 miles per hour along the leading edge of the storms that are now in northeast Vernon County is where the winds appear to be the highest. Let me go ahead and go back to the wind tracker. By the way, I know many of you guys are probably putting in your comments, and normally I'm able to follow along, but the way I have it set up today, I'm basically just kind of focusing in on radar, so I'm not able to monitor your comments quite as often as usual. So apologies if I am not answering your questions exactly the way you would want. All right, so we're back to the wind tracker. And in this instance, the shades in blue correspond to the highest winds. So I'm going to go ahead and query this to see what it's showing in terms of potential wind. Velocity of about 70 miles per hour. So there could be 70 mile per hour winds in the northeast quadrant of Vernon County and also northwest Williamson County. Let's take a look just northwest of Florence, showing 62 mile per hour winds possible. Northwest of Joppa, 67 mile per hour winds. So granted, this is, the radar kind of shoots a beam upwards, so it's not exactly at that strength of wind. It's probably a little bit lower just because it's down at the surface and the radar is shooting a little bit above at a higher elevation. But please be prepared for the potential of damaging winds. And I kind of monitored, and there was a report of a 70 mile per hour wind gust in McCulloch County earlier. In addition, I saw a report of a 67 mile per hour gust also just to the north of our area, and then a 52 mile per hour gust that was reported within the CBS Austin area. So yeah, the National Weather Service continuing with 70 mile per hour winds possible, and that is for the Gillespie County storm. So they are at considerable damage possible, 70 mile per hour winds, and hail up to 1 inch in diameter. Let's go ahead and drop back down to the Gillespie County storm as well. So those of you joining right now, the biggest concerns here are going to be wind damage. Let me go ahead and query this as well so we can look at the indications of how strong these winds. So depending on what part of the storm you're looking at, radar is indicating that winds could be 60 to 70 miles per hour. The storms are pushing through Harper right now. They're approaching Morris Ranch in the southwest corner of Gillespie County, and they will be pushing next toward the Fredericksburg area. So severe thunderstorm warning. That includes Kerrville as well, to the south and west. So just keep in mind one other consideration for you. Let's see. The severe thunderstorm warning that continues for Georgetown, for Vernon, for Serenata until 9:45 could have wind gusts up to 70, as we spoke about just a bit ago. So if you're in the path of either of these storms, we're not talking tornadoes. These winds at this point are straight line. They're not rotating, but just because they're not rotating doesn't mean they won't cause damage. Instead, they'll just cause damage all in a similar direction. Fences down, power lines, tree limbs, that kind of thing will be affected. So I'll go ahead and put the warning layer back on here so you can see the extent of the warnings. The western half of Gillespie County under that severe thunderstorm warning until 10:15. And then off toward the north and east, severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Vernon County and Williamson County until 9:45. Biggest concern with both is going to be those strong gusty winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. All right, let's go back to the radar view. And as you can see, though the storms are not as strong as they were, you can definitely see that the purples that were in north central sections of Burnett County have diminished, but we're watching the leading edge of that gust front move in toward the Florence area and near Andice as well. I would fully expect you're probably going to feel the brunt of this anytime now. For those of you watching in Williamson County, in the Sun City area, in the Georgetown area, in Jarrell, all of this is going to quickly be racing through. So right now it looks like the leading edge of those storms have just moved through Florence and Andice, and they're continuing to quickly race off toward the east. At last check, the winds, sorry, not the winds, the speed of the storm was moving at about 40 miles per hour. I'm just going to double check and confirm that that is still the case. So I think I can actually do that by popping it up on the warning layer here. And let's see, 70 mile per hour winds, quarter size hail. Ooh, it's sped up, 50 mile per hour motion. So based on that, let's go ahead and take the current mode, and I'm going to take the leading edge of the storms, and we'll go ahead and push this out 50 miles per hour. Let me go ahead and get all the way to 50. It's a little hard to see that over Georgetown. There we go, 50 miles per hour. So here are some revised times. Current time is 9:39. 9:40 for Liberty Hill, 9:49 for Sun City, 9:53 for Lake Georgetown, 9:57 for Georgetown Airport, 10 o'clock for downtown Georgetown on the square, 10:03 for Holland, and 10:07 for Bartlett. So the worst of the storms right now appear, in terms of the wind, to be in that far northwest corner of Williamson County, and then the gust front is going to extend out ahead of the storms as they continue pushing eastward. We go ahead and go back to the hail tracker, because that's another thing that we were keeping tabs on as to whether we were going to be dealing with any more hail. Oh, and this is some good news. Remember I told you I thought that the storms, at least the intensity, had shown some signs of weakening? See how that hail core kind of collapsed? That's actually good news for you, those of you who have had roofs damaged and had to have them replaced. There's no longer a severe hail core showing up in that Burnett County storm that is moving into Williamson County, so it appears wind is the biggest thing. However, there is a new hail core that appears to be strengthening through southern Burnett County. Just to give you an idea, there could be hail up to walnut sized. And as far as the locations, this is going to be Highway 71 near Spicewood, south of Marble Falls, and east of Highway 281, County Road 401, Vista View Trail, County Road 404. These are all areas that will be potentially getting in some hail very shortly. Let me go ahead and wind out and make sure that there's nothing else of concern hail-wise. Looks like a little bit of small hail right there at that apex of Burnett County and Williamson County, and the latest scan is showing some hail possibly out. This might be closer to the no-name area, perhaps. Let's double check. North of Liberty Hill, Bold Sundown, and west of Ronald Reagan, well west of Ronald Reagan the way it looks, and east of Highway, or north of Highway 29, there could be some hail in here. Let me go ahead and see how big it's currently being estimated at. It says hail out of range, so it doesn't want to tell me pea-sized hail, so it's smaller hail that's being indicated there. So really, the storm that's between Marble Falls and Spicewood, that one's showing some hail that could be increasing, maybe up to nickel sized. The Gillespie County storm, at this point, I'm pleased to say it looks as though the hail cores are not that bad. Let me go ahead and click on this one that's not quite to you, that's in Kerr County, marble-sized hail. Southwest Gillespie County looks like pea-sized hail. And let's see, pea-sized hail as well for that area into southwest Gillespie County. Oh, there's some big-time hail cores farther to the west, but we're going all the way out to the Rio Grande for that. So hopefully those don't head in our direction, but let's go ahead and put this into motion, see what's happening. Okay, so these storms look like they are starting to kind of dive to the south, and those hail cores are likely at that trajectory to not be moving toward us. In addition, the storms that were over areas to the southwest of Fredericksburg looks like they are starting to weaken. That's also a good sign. And so the only real hail core that's actually showing intensification is this one that's now north of Highway 71, heading towards Smithwick and southeast of Marble Falls and west of Spicewood. So that is the one. Let's see, National Weather Service continuing severe thunderstorm warnings. Considerable threat of damaging wind appears to be the biggest issue with these storms. All right, so 9:42. Hope you guys will join me at 10 o'clock, and something tells me we'll have lots to talk about on CBS Austin News as the storms are really kind of filling in. So it's good to know that aside from that storm that's near Spicewood, that the hail cores are not terrible. And it does look like the leading edge of the storms continuing to make their way toward Williamson County. So they're already pushed through Florence and Andice. I'd be curious to find out if there have been any additional damage reports. I'm going to just double check and find out if there has been anything additional listed. And it appears that, let's see, 2 minutes ago, severe thunderstorm warning, Gillespie County, that's still in place. And Vernon County and Williamson County, strong thunderstorms until 10:30 p.m., hail up to nickel size possible. So 9:45 is the expiration time for this storm that we're currently watching. And it does look like, based on what I'm seeing, the National Weather Service is not going to reissue the severe thunderstorm warning. It looks as though they are going to go with a special weather statement. However, the severe thunderstorm warning for Gillespie County is going to continue, and it is in place until 10:15. So Gillespie County, your severe thunderstorm warning is until 10:15. Williamson and Vernon County, your severe thunderstorm warning is for 1 more minute until 9:45. It does look like that will be allowed to expire, and it will be transitioned over to a special weather statement for strong thunderstorms. As you can see also, it looks as though Milam County has also been added to the severe thunderstorm watch. So let me go back to the watch graphic. Flashing areas, those include Leon, Freestone, Anderson Falls, Limestone, Milam, and Robertson counties. So those have all been added to the severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect until 3 a.m. So more or less, all of these storms are going to affect our area, and please make sure that you are staying weather aware because these storms are going to be packing a punch. So severe thunderstorm watch now until 3 a.m. for all of our area except for Fayette County. At 10 o'clock, the watch that's currently in effect for Mason County is likely to expire, and Mason County will be the lone county aside from Fayette that will not be under a severe thunderstorm warning at that point. So in pink, those are severe thunderstorm watches. Elsewhere, you can see that the line of storms is crawling quickly to the east. I'm going to go ahead and make the lightning a little bit smaller so it doesn't distract from looking at the radar itself. And there you go. 9:45, the warning for Burnett and Williamson counties has officially expired. There's no longer a warning box around that area. Instead, the storms have weakened. The winds now possible up to about 55 miles per hour. And that severe thunderstorm warning has expired, which is great news. Aside from a wind gust reported in Burnett at 52 miles per hour, I did not see reports of damage in either Wilco or Burnett counties from this, but that doesn't mean that it didn't occur. Sometimes there can be some lag time between weather reports and the actual radar indication of said weather. So as we look, the only warning we currently have in place is for Gillespie County, and that was in effect until 10:15 tonight. Show you those winds one more time, and the blues do correspond to nasty winds. I'll take the warning layer off. I will query the winds within the area near Morris Ranch and Harper, and it's showing velocities. Again, keeping in mind that the radar beam is not shooting at the surface, it's actually extending off toward the north, so it's shooting above at an elevation. But at an elevation, it's showing 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts possible. So please continue to remain sheltered if you are in the western half of Gillespie County as these storms start to press to the east, and those strong gusty winds could create some damage. All right, so time now is 9:46, and I am actually going to start getting ready for CBS Austin News at 10 o'clock. I actually need to switch computers because I'm on the wrong system, and if I were to try to go on the air with this one, it wouldn't work. So I'm going to do that, and what I urge you to do is check in with me if you don't mind. Tonight on CBS Austin, we'll look at the latest, and then after the news, I'm going to come back on and we'll do some additional radar babysitting for as long as it takes. Let's see, Kristen, Michelle, Jennifer saying, where's the Fredericksburg storm headed? It is heading east, so if it holds together, it would be heading toward Blanco County next. So right now it's moving toward Fredericksburg. It'll go through Lukenbach, it'll head through LBJ Ranch, and then it'll head between Johnson City and Blanco, because it's basically moving due west to due east and moving at about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So that's where that particular storm is heading. Jennifer saying if the first wave is weakening, does this mean the second wave may weaken as well? That is exactly the case. The second wave that's farther back does not at this point seem to have as much oomph, if you will. It is bringing rain, it's bringing lightning and strong storms, but not as much in the way of severe thunderstorm activity. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for now. I'll see you guys in 12 minutes on CBS Austin News. Unfortunately, weather is not the only story of the day. The tragedy in Uvalde at the elementary school there, just heartbreaking. Let's see, a new warning has just been issued. Gillespie County, Blanco County, you are now under severe thunderstorm warning, 80-mile-per-hour winds possible with this. So you've now been added in Blanco County. Let me go ahead and I'll show you that before I log off. And so that's currently the biggest storm of note, and you can definitely see this right here on the leading edge of the storms moving right here. This is all going to be tracking to the east, moving toward Lukenbach and then into Blanco County. So the new warning that is in place is in orange. It's in effect until 10:45 p.m. and includes the eastern 2/3 of Gillespie County, as well as all of Blanco County. So be prepared for gusty winds that could cause damage, could cause power outages, could cause tree limbs to come down through the eastern 2/3 of Gillespie County into Blanco County. Should the storms, and I'll go ahead and put it into motion, should the storms continue to maintain that intensity with those very strong, gusty, potentially damaging winds, then Hayes County would be next in line after Blanco County. So these basically are marching along and south of Highway 290 from west to east. And it's this area that looks kind of like a backwards C right here. That's the bow echo. And along the apex of that bow is where the strongest winds currently are. All right. With that said, I do need to get rocking and rolling, ready for the newscast. As always, you can go to cbsaustin.com for updates, and I'll see you guys after our newscast. So I urge you to stay tuned for that. Thanks, you guys. Take care and have a good night and be safe.